Well, good afternoon. We're so glad you decided to join us for our roundtable talk this afternoon. It's going to be a fun one. We're talking about family legacies, and of course, today we are celebrating a big thing, 65 years of the Shepherd of the Hills outdoor drama. So cool. Well, before we get to hearing from these fine folks here, which is why you're here, of course, I have a few little announcements. My name is Katie Brousseau, and if you were here before, I just love the Shepherd of the Hills. I grew up here in the Ozarks, and so, like many people, grew up coming here, watching the show, and now I'm able to bring my kids back here. So it's funny how life kind of comes full circle, and I'm so proud to be able to share that story and legacy with my kids now today, all because of you guys who keep this going. So, Harold Bell Wright wrote the story of the Shepherd of the Hills, the story of the Ozarks, back in 1907, and today we're talking about family legacies and the way that these folks have, helped the Shepherd, or have turned the Shepherd of the Hills kind of into their family story as well. And, Harold Bell Wright was big on family. He dedicated the book to his lovely wife, Frances, and, of course, he befriended families like the Rosses, John and Anna Ross, who inspired Old Matt and Aunt Molly. So I think he'd be proud of what people have continued today, and I just like to think about that. It's just fun to imagine what he'd think about the legacy still being told today, and these families being involved. So we're so glad to have these folks with us today. I'm going to introduce everybody, and I will probably miss something because they've all been so involved in this show and their families as well. So first of all, Terry Sanders. And so thanks for being here, Terry.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You may recognize him in his Silver Dollar City character as well. And he's been here for 22 years.
22 years, yes.
My goodness, that's amazing. And so you've played Ollie. You still play Ollie.
I still play Ollie. Yes, I am the oldest Ollie we've ever had.
That's
and
so
no
cool.
Surgery yet.
I wasn't going to say
Thank
it, but you did. Doc Coughlin, you also play.
What would Sarah and the girls say?
I love it. And, of course, your son and daughter-in-law are also in the show.
Yes, they are.
You've passed down the torch.
Next torch, exactly right. How exciting.
It's so exciting. Thanks for being here, Terry.
Thank you.
And next, Dina Gilman. So, yes, thanks for being here, Dina. And so you're the second of 3 generations, and your mom, dad, and sister were all in the show. Now your kids are in the show. You see a trend here. They're passing it down. I love that. You played Aunt Molly, Mrs. Wheeler, and you've also played Sammy Lane, and you've been a production assistant. There we go. And something about Dina, she's one of only 2 women who have played all the female characters in the show. Yep. That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yep. Dawn Corcoran is the other one, and she's waving her hand back there.
Yeah, she's here too. That's awesome. Jeremy Lynn, he's the second of 3 generations in the show. If you know Jeremy, you know he's the resident historian. He knows all about this place, and he currently performs with his wife and daughters. And he's always played the bad guy, ball knobbers. So we got to have him.
Gotta have him.
You do a great job, Jeremy. Thank you for being here. Now we have Mingo Arvizu.
Arvizu, yes.
Yes, and you were a part of the show in the 1980s.
90s.
1990s. And now you're back here for your 4th season. And you play Dad Howitt and Old Matt, and your wife and son are also in the show.
Yes. It's a family affair, and we love every minute of it.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, Mingo. And, yeah, we can cheer for him. And Leanne Kaufelt plays Mrs. Wheeler, and of course a variety of other female roles. I got to talk with Leanne a little bit earlier. Such a neat lady, so glad you're here. And you also have been a part of the Kaufelt family, of course, who has been around the Shepherd of the Hills for generations. So certainly a big part of that as well, your whole family. So welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
So we'll start out here talking about family and family stories. And, you guys have chosen to make this story a part of your family's story. And I think that's something really special that we as audience members can really feel. You can feel that it's a family affair, and you put your heart into it. And what has it meant to you to get to watch Shepherd of the Hills become a part of your family's story? What has that meant to you?
Oh my, everything. I was from Mountain Grove, Missouri. The first time I came to Shepherd of the Hills, I was 5 years old. This is 1964. And when I watched this amazing story unravel, I mean, again, the spectacle, the fire, the burning of the cabin, the horses, everything, the actors, what stood out were certain characters. And whenever Ollie Stewart came upon the stage, boom, I said, oh my gosh, because I saw him, he was funny. Then I heard that audience laughing. I said, I want to be that guy. And honest to goodness, I set my goals early on where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in Branson, Missouri. I wanted to work over at Silver Dollar, got a job there. I wanted to be at Shepherd of the Hills, got a job here. I got a job, we saw a music show, got a job in a music show. And when I came down here, I met this lovely woman, Miss Dee Dee Edwards at the time, fell in love with her. Yes, oh, she's amazing, yeah. And very well known. She is a cousin to Keith Thurman, the director. Hello. So yes, nepotism right here. That's how we all got hired. Anyway, and so yeah, and then of course being in love, we got married. We also were blessed with 2 boys, and we brought them to the show, and they loved the show so much. It was like, oh my gosh! And then Austin, our oldest son, got hired first as Little Pete, and so it was just so exciting to see all this unravel right here. He's a part of the history. And Keith, the director at that time, said, Terry, you've got your nights open. Why don't you get in the play too? I said, really? He goes, you're Ollie. So there you go. It was a great audition. You're Ollie. Thank you very much. So yeah, so it became a family affair. Then Evan, our second son, he watched his brother, and again, he got cast as Little Pete. So for a while, we had Pete and repeat at our house. And then my wife, Dee Dee, said, well, I want to be a part of this too. So she became Mrs. Wheeler. She's the one that, comes in yelling at her husband, just whooping him up. It's typecasting. So yeah, so I'm going to not go home tonight. Anyway, but for us to be a part of this and to have our family involved, to see it and then want to be a part of it and then to become a part of it. To me, that is everything. We are family. And all of us who are not blood related, we are family and always will be. So that's my answer in a nutshell.
Thank you. That's great.
Good luck. Yeah. Not sure where to start after that. So I have never not known Shepherd of the Hills. My mother and father went to CMSU. That's where they met. And before Shepherd was here, the play was done down on the lakefront by the CMSU summer rep. And my mother played Little Pete, and my father played Mad Howard. He also played Jeb Holland, but that's not a character in the story anymore. But so I've never not known life without Shepherd of the Hills. In 1995, I was going to SMSU, and that dated myself right there because that's not even what it's called anymore. And I had a costuming class with Brad Pollitt, who used to play Ollie Stewart, Lim Wheeler, and he was out here in the daytime too. And he said, you know what, we have auditions this weekend, and you should come out and audition, and I think you'd be a great Sammy Lane. And I was like, oh, well, okay. So I came out, I met Keith Thurman, who, by the way, my mother was his theater teacher in high school. And And there it started. I started playing out here. I told a story my first night out here. I ended up playing Mandy Ford because they didn't have another one, and I didn't know the lines. I learned them 2 hours before the show. Met my husband in rehearsals that same year. I have a story about a fast wagon incident that might have been the reason why we got married, which I might tell later. And we were in the show for 10 years, took a break. While I was in my break, my sister Dawn came out and played Aunt Molly for 2 seasons. She's here. And then in, 5 seasons ago, my oldest daughter, Peyton, came out to usher and square dance. And Keith asked if my youngest would like to come out and play Little Pete. Well, he's younger, so he had to have an adult. So I came back out to sit with him, and I was like, I'm not going to sit here and watch this show. Keith, do you need somebody? And he was like, yes, you can play Aunt Molly. So that's how we got that. Then we incorporated my son Parker in it too. He's bald knobbed. He's played Ed Johnson. Peyton's played Mandy Ford. She's now up in the tech booth. She runs the sound and lights. So that's where we're at.
So I'll kind of take it a different direction. Much like Dina, I grew up out. I'd never not known Shepherd. My dad worked here, and my mom worked here. So I grew up out here, and I think that the reason that it's important to me, and Mike Sr. put it best the other day, is you can't learn everything in school. And we were talking about the lessons that you learn from people that work here. And so when I was growing up, I had the pleasure of knowing people like Gil Elmore and Tommy Kaufelt and Claire Hutchison and Noah Fredericks and Lloyd DeRay and just all these extremely iconic people. Probably one of the most influential people in my life was Dean Fullerton. And you take those things that you learned from those people and you carry them beyond the exit sign of Shepherd of the Hills, and it becomes part of who you are. And my children, I had always heard and seen my excitement with it, and my wife. And so when I had the opportunity to encourage my oldest daughter, Bailey, when she was at C of O to come back out and square dance, I told her I'd come back out with her one night a week because that's all I had time for. And now I'm out here every night and driving trams and working this different festivals and doing a lot more than I intended to, but it draws you in. But the most important part of it for me is in my other job, I tell the guys that I work with to enjoy the days that you're in because you're now living in your good old days. When you're older, those are your good old days that you'll remember is where you're at right now. And so it's people that are in this room and the people that make up the cast now that are my children's Dean Fullerton and the Kaufelts and all the folks that had such an impact on me. I mean, my older daughter Bailey latches on to Mike Sr. especially, and some of the folks here, and Addison would rather sit with Leanne than she would us, as she did when she got here today. So it's those relationships that I think are the most important and the biggest reason that I wanted my family to continue to do this, because it has such an impact on who you are. And those are the type of people that you want your kids to emulate themselves after.
Well said. Wow. I was here back in the 90s. I was understudying Wash Gibbs. And if you guys know Haas Braden, that amounted to probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 0 actual performances of Wash Gibbs. You don't have to cover him. He works hard. He's never not there. But it was fun. It was fun learning all of that, getting ready to do all of that, and going through the process of it. But I had probably way more fun just bald knobbing. And it was funny because, I had ridden a horse as a kid, but I had not been prepared to be a bald knobber. And you kind of learn that on the fly. And I mean that like literally, because sometimes you'll go flying. But we had, I had departed and gone and done other things. I spent about 14 years with Sight and Sound, and then ended up in Pennsylvania as a production stage manager out there. And man, that was some of the hardest years of my professional life. And at a certain point, my grandsons were all growing up around here, and I was like, we got to get back to Missouri. I didn't really care for Pennsylvania a whole lot. So we came back, and I visited Jay just to visit him, because I hadn't seen him in a while. I've known him for years, and we sat down, and he was like, we were just talking, and he said, you should come back out here to the theater. And I was like, I don't know about that, Jay. I've kind of hung up my acting boots. I'm not really sure I would be up for that. And he goes, well, we only do it 3 days a week. And honestly, the reason why I'd hung up those boots is because, that actor lifestyle, practically anywhere else, is pretty demanding and can eat away a lot of your life. So I was like, all right, let's do this. First year I came out, had a blast. Was just really loving it. A little bit of a mental load learning Dad, Howitt, and Old Matt, but I always knew that I wouldn't have to do Old Matt because, again, Hoss Braden, the hardest working man in show business. Mostly I play Dad, and then I bald knob, which is beautiful because, you get the option to do a really serious role, and then you get to square dance and ride horses and, have a shootout and play cowboy. It's the best thing ever, and really enjoyed it. And then my son was just the right age to come and join us out here as little Pete. And he was 12 the first year he came out here and played it. And he just took to it like it was nothing. I mean, just immediately really good at it. And I was like, man, I was expecting him to get bit by the theater bug. And he's like, nah, it's a J.O.B., Dad. That's all. But he'll get it, trust me. So, and like you said, the shaping events that happen in a young boy's life out here, I'll say this. You can't work in this place as one of the kids without, getting a little extra material added to your culture. Yeah, culture. I would call it, most of those kids are like, I see one right over here in the corner that's already really tapping the bar on the SAS meter. So, it gets instilled in them. Well, Sonny got a little too much starch in his pants and had been mouthing off at Dina's husband, Scooter, last year. And Scooter was like, well, it looks like it's about time for Sonny to get the water trough bath. And they were going back and forth, and finally, Scott didn't do it himself. He put a hit on him. He rounded up a few bald knobbers, one in particular, Mr. Breyer. And Breyer said, you're going in the water trough, boy. I hope you realize that. And Sonny was like, yeah, if you can catch me. Well, they caught him. And they were like, we're going to give you an option to either step into the water trough or we'll throw you in there. And he goes, okay, I'll step in. And then whenever they let him go to step in, he tried to take off. They caught him again, and boom, in he went. And I'll tell you, he's probably going to get a second baptism this year because it hasn't really removed all the starch from his shorts just yet. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, my family, I love it. So Sonny and I did it, for that second year that I was back. And then my wife was like just getting bored being at home on those evenings that we were out here. So she's like, well, I'm going to go. So she came out here and she started playing Mrs. Wheeler as well. Also typecasting, again, just kidding. She's really a lovely lady. She's not a shrill harpy. So not that you are either. But it was just so fun that last summer, my daughter even joined us. She had been dancing up in St. Louis with a company up there, and she decided to come work in Branson, and she joined us at home, and we were like, well, you should come out with us to Shepherd. So she came out, and I got to spend all of last summer, square dancing with my daughter and my wife, and we just have so much fun here, and it's such a blessing to be a part of something that's got so much legacy, so much history, and it's family. There's no other way to put it. You end up loving the people that you work with here, and that's what I would say.
I can't follow that. Mine's not nearly that funny. But I am covering two families. I know I'm up here because I'm a Caulfield. But before that, I was an Arnold. And when I first started in the show, I was an Arnold. But when I was little bitty, we had to drive from Lucky 13 Resort over on Ants Creek to Branson, Missouri to get groceries because there wasn't anything big enough to have a decent grocery store at that time. And we had to stop here before we went around Dewey Bald Mountain because I got car sick. So we stopped at Shepherd of the Hills, and we got something to drink and walked around for a bit so I could be safe going around Dewey Bald. And I was here opening night. and I got to see Sammy Lane, and I thought that was the most wonderful character. I loved her. I wanted to do that so badly. I was 11 years old. When I got to be 16, I applied for a job. Of course, everybody does at Silver Dollar City. And Hal Meadows came around dropping off brochures for Shepherd of the Hills, and he said, "Oh, why don't you come out and be Sammy Lane?" "Oh, okay." I never worked for Silver Dollar City. I came right on past to Shepherd of the Hills, and I've been here ever since. My family, the Caulfields, I don't believe there's ever been a year that there hasn't been a Caulfield in this show, where we just hold it together. We all loved it, and I'm just delighted to be here. I'm glad Jeff still lets me hang out. I'm getting old.
You can't swing a dead cat around here without hitting a Caulfield.
I'm finding that out. Man, I'm soaking all this in. You guys are fantastic. How has the participation in the show or the homestead shaped your family's values or identity?
Oh my, that's pretty deep right there. Some of this has already been covered because it just gets into your blood, and then you learn to meet other people and you get to talking with them. There's so many moments where you just go, oh my goodness, this is an education, and we are one big happy dysfunctional family, and it's all good. It's all for the good. Oh my goodness, how.
Maybe even what values come out of the show
Right,
itself and
exactly.
the story.
The story itself speaks for itself. There are morals, there are values, it is Christ-based, and that is paramount right there, and it rings true every night. The final words at the end of the production, you hear them and you take them to heart and you get the goosebumps every single time, because we build churches, but we do not attend. We buy Bibles, we do not read them. Oh my goodness, that just wakes us all up right there. And so for us to be based here, to be raised here, and to be a part of this, and to take that to heart, because we learn the lines, but also, like I think Keith Thurman said earlier, you live those lines. And that's what it is. We have learned to live with each other in harmony. We work things out. We might have a disagreement where we're going to work it out, because at the end of the night, I love you, I love you, I love you. And that's what we do. You get through it, because that's what life is about. And that's what this production, this book, this play are really about, teaching us life lessons, how to continue on, how to have that foresight, to say, okay, next generation. We have to keep on moving forward. And I love that, because that's how our boys were raised right here, and that's how they took it, Absolutely. It hurts your heart when things happen. Real saying, 2013, we got the letter from the owners then saying we could no longer do the show. We were going to close down. And that affected us so greatly. Our oldest son, Austin, loved this place. He would roam. He was like Little Pete, because that was his first character, but he roamed the hills. He knew where every cranny and crook was, and all the valleys and the trees and the little cave, that there's a cave around the corner here over on the other property where we call it Little Pete's Cave. And Austin came to me in tears, because he had got the news, and he said, "Dad, this is all I've known all my life. What am I going to do?" And I said, "Honey, this is what life is. Things happen, things begin, and things come to an end. So we have to treasure what we took, what we learned, what we gained, the friendship, the love, all those lessons, and keep it in our hearts and our memories and move forward." And by the grace of God, we had a resurgence. We had them find a way to keep it going, and then thank God again for Jeff Johnson to say, "No, I will not let this happen." And had it not been for Jeff Johnson, this would be timeshares right now. So thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. That's what we have gained and garnered from this. Next.
I literally wouldn't have a family. And I'm probably going to cry at some point, so just be ready for that. I met my husband out here. I met him. We fell in love. We got married up at the point. We got married among the statues up there. My daughter was not days old, weeks old the first time she was out here, because I was pregnant in the summertime. My second son, Parker, same thing. He was weeks old when he got out here. And even though we took a break after our third one came along, it was time to take a break. It sucks you back in, because these people aren't just your coworkers. They are your family. Your kids grow up with their kids. Peyton has known Briar Crane since, I don't know, birth. I mean, Peyton was just a few months older than him. So she has known him her whole life. He's known her his whole life. You grow up with these people. They are in your weddings. They come to your baby showers. They watch your kids graduate. They watch your kids get married, because my older daughter and Terry's youngest son are now married. They've been married for a year. So I'm not going to cry. I'm going to stop right there.
Sure you don't want to go on?
Nope, I'll cry.
Okay, so the question. I just want to make sure I get it
Yeah,
correct.
how has the story
Okay,
or the
yeah.
show shaped your family's values or being a part of the homestead?
Okay, so I may not be as successful as you.
Give the mic away.
The Shepherd of the Hills is it's an enigma and it's an addiction, because it becomes part of your soul. And you want to share that with the people that you love. And I have been extremely lucky to be somewhere where my mom and my dad and my brother and my older daughter, and my goal of my life to get my wife out here, who is very resistant to it, because it's really not her jam, but she is the next Mrs. Wheeler. It's tight casting. The thing about then I have my son-in-law and my brother-in-law, and like have everybody that's an intricate part of my life now involved with this place. And now that my daughter's married, and my youngest daughter is growing up, it's truly the 3 nights a week you get with your whole family, and so that is not just inclusive to those that live under my rooftop, but you're out here, as everybody said. But as far as how the story of the Shepherd of the Hills has an impact, there is nothing that you will face in life that you can't learn a lesson about through the story. Whether that's the decision of right and wrong with Jim Lane, whether that's loss, whether that's grief, whether it's forgiveness, whether it's love, whether it's about good versus evil, the redemption of a man as he finds his own way. All of those things that this story tells, it covers all the core events that will happen in your life, and it prepares you for it. If you watch the Shepherd of the Hill story unfold in front of you at night, and then the lights go out, and they all fade away into the past. But it's really telling you about the future. But when that last guitar strum hits, if that doesn't send a shiver down your spine, then you're not paying attention to the story. And that's every night you hear it, that guitar strum, and it just has such an impact. And that's the value, weight, and lesson of what you get here.
So true. Yeah.
One of my favorite photos of me and my son is one that was taken unknowingly by this guy right here. We started praying before each show, me and my boy, that the message of Shepherd would reach people's hearts. And we were standing out there on the edge of the gravel road and looking out into the hills when we were praying together, and he, standing at the dressing room, took a picture of the two of us and sent that to me. And it's more than just a show. It is truly a story of faith. It's a story of redemption. It's a story of forgiveness.
And the reason why people are moved by it is because
I truly believe that the Holy Spirit is at work in the process of this portrayal. And you know, at first, whenever I got chosen to play Dad Howitt, I thought, wow, this is the first time in my life I'm getting to play a title role, the Shepherd of the Hills. And it was not long before my father kind of smacked me down and said, he's not the title character. I believe that the title character of our show is Jesus. I believe he is the true shepherd of these hills, and I believe that Dad Howitt was an under-shepherd that was serving him in his efforts to mentor and coach and just love on the people of the story. And I know he's a character in a fictional novel that we have turned into a play. But the message there comes directly from a man who had spent a good portion of his life making every effort to shepherd people in their faith. And then tried something else in writing, and I think it worked. Many people have come to me at the end when we're meeting the folks that have been in the house, and they'll have tears in their eyes, and they'll be wiping them away as they say, this story means so much to me, and I thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing with it. And thank you for keeping it going. And thank you, Jeff. Thanks, Steve. All of the people that have allowed this to continue, because, my goodness, it's meant to be here. It is why this whole town exists, in my estimation. And I think, Branson should, honestly pay a little tribute to this old place, because it is the core of who we are and where we're going.
What the last two guys said. That's all I need.
They covered it pretty well, I'd say. You guys have passed this down to your children and future generations in your family, but the future generation in general, the future generation of cast members, what would you want them to understand about the heart and soul of the show and what the show is truly about? What would you want those future cast members to understand?
To understand what we all have just said. Seriously, there's such a message here today from every single person that next generation, if they're here in town, if they are our children, they're going to grow up and they're going to give that to their children and to their children. That's what you do. You take information, you take knowledge, and you share that. Then they take it and they expound on that. And to me, that is so exciting for the future if we keep this going the right direction and with the meaning that we have given it today, because it has opened up all of our eyes. I feel right now in this room, we've all had these epiphanies going, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. Jesus is the main character. Oh my gosh. And so, wow, we have the opportunity right now to take what we have learned from the play, from the book, and from right now, and to carry that on to the next generation and the next and the next. So this will be perpetual. It's just going to be that growth of understanding, of love, of God. There you go.
I think I would want to let them know that it's not just a job. This is not, you didn't just get hired. These people are going to be your family. You're touching lives in ways you don't know. Like when you play Sammy Lane, the little girls that look up to you. When you play young Matt, I'm gonna cry. I know, I'm sorry. young Matt, when little boys see young Matt, and that's who I want to be. I want to be that guy. Oh my gosh, I really am gonna cry. Anyway, I just want them to know that it is so important, not to everybody else, but in your own life and how you live your life.
I think the biggest thing that I would want my girls to know is that it's fun and that it is impacting and but it's a responsibility, that it's their responsibility to carry the message, but to carry the message in the right way. And I joke around with some that understand what I say when I say this, but I consider myself a purist to the story, and I don't like it too much when we get too far off script, and I don't like it when we make characters something that they're not intended to be, and everybody puts their own twist on it, and sometimes you see things, you're like, I don't know that that's what he would have done, but it's okay, but I prefer to be a purist to the story. And so I think it's that. I think it's that responsibility to always know the impact that you're having and to appreciate where you are in that moment, live in the moment, and be there, because one day, myself included, we're all going to be gone. And you will have the memory of the impact that this place had on you. And it's a very, I guess we're really the first generation that's had this experience of being out here with such big personalities and people that shaped the show through the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And now we're in those roles. And so the people that I looked up to were now that role for somebody else. And there's some young men in particular that work out here that I have really, it's such a neat role to be in, to try and be around them and have an impact on who they're becoming as young men. And so that responsibility will soon be yours. And it's a different experience entirely. But you have to be true to yourself and true to the story, and make sure that the real message and the real reason gets carried on, and it doesn't just become a production. Yeah.
You know, I would want the next generation to recognize what the soul of this place is, what the heart of this place is. And I'm not just talking about our show, I'm talking about the story, the history, going all the way back. I mean, you cannot stand up there at Inspiration Point and look out over Mutton Hollow and not be moved by the beauty of what our Father wrought in this place. I mean, it is gorgeous. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place to put a show up, and it's a beautiful place to live, I would imagine, for them. It had to have been. But I think, you know, one of the things that struck me, I was reading this just the other day because I was working on something, and this is from the book. And it's Dad Howitt sitting there on the porch with old Matt, and they've been having their discussion. It says, "For some time the stranger sat thus, while his host spoke no word. Then lifting his head, the man looked away over the ridges just touched with the lingering light, and the valley below wrapped in the shadowy mists. I came a long way from it all because they said I must, and because I was hungry for this." He waved his hand toward the glowing sky and the forest-clad hills. "This is good for me. It somehow seems to help me know how big God is. One could find peace here. Surely, sir, one could find it here. Peace and strength." And honestly, that's what it has been to me since my return. I know that it's been that for many people for years, and it is a restorative, healing place. And I want my family to know, and the younger generation to know, that no matter what goes on in that life that they're going to live, and no matter what kind of heartache or difficulty they endure, they can always come to this place and experience that and know that. And I know that God can reach anybody anywhere, but there's something special about this hallowed ground.
I completely agree with that. I do have a legacy here. My daughter, I always laugh when she plays Mrs. Wheeler also. She's very good at it. And she says that she was doing it before she was born because I was the pregnant Mrs. Wheeler. And I understand that after I left, there was a stomach that went with Mrs. Wheeler so everybody could be pregnant. And I have a granddaughter who basically has grown up here, and she's going to be a large animal vet because of this place. She loves those horses so much. And my grandson played Little Pete. So my whole family is here. My husband was Mad Howard, and he was very good at it. He could die better than anybody I knew. And he did one day, and I'm really sorry about that. But this place, I just want that to follow through. We have always been so loved here. Everybody makes me feel comfortable. And I'm like Dina, I will cry because I can cry at the drop of a hat. Except when I was Sammy Lane and I needed to cry. There were no tears. But this is one of the most beautiful places on earth. We get to come here 3 nights a week now. They tell me we're going to get a 4th. I hope we do. But it's just wonderful. I love coming out here. I bring food out to trail rides on Sunday for the kids out there so they get something to eat. And I just sit there and look at the countryside. I don't ride a horse. But this is Shepherd of the Hills. It's known all over the world. I've traveled around the United States a lot and always, oh, you're from Branson. And they mention Shepherd of the Hills. And so it's well known. And it is going to grow. I believe that it's going to be a big, big deal in the United States of America and all over the world. Had a family last year that came here from Iran, I believe. And the family, there were like 3 kids and a man and his wife. They didn't speak English. The father could talk a little bit, and I had to sit there and explain what was happening on the stage to them. And they were excited, and they were going to go home because they had other friends there that wanted to come and see it too. So it's heard of wherever you go. And I want that to carry on forever. Please, God.
You guys are just fantastic. I've been soaking in every word, as I know everyone has. Our time has gone by so fast. Let's thank these guys one more time.